Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jane Wood. I'm a village agent for the Community Council for Somerset, and thank you very much for looking at this Talking Cafe. I'm really excited today to be joined by Will Freeman of the Wildfowl and Wetland Trust, who's a health and wellbeing officer. I had to practice that and I still couldn't say it properly. I do apologise.
It's a lot of words.
Yes. So just starting off very briefly, who are you and how did you get to be with the WWT?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me here today, Jane. And nice to, well, I can't see everyone, but nice to know you. Nice to know you're there. So yeah, my name is Will Freeman. I'm Health and Wellbeing Officer at WWT, which is the Wildfowl and Wetland Trust, like wildfowl as in birds, ducks, etc. And basically, we work mainly in the Sedgemoor area, so Steart Marshes, and also the Meads in Bridgewater. But I was born and raised in Somerset, over near Wales, born in Shepton Mallet. And so I've always been around the wetlands and around, Somerset levels mainly. So it's a place that's really close to my heart. And I know what it means to me and a lot of other people too. But I've come from, recently University of Bristol, but also an inner city farm in Bristol, which working with care farming and horticultural therapy and conservation and all those nice outdoorsy bits as I am myself with all these plants and food produce.
Brilliant. So could you just tell us a little bit about WWT and how did the Steart Marshes come about?
Absolutely. So WWT is a charitable organisation, environmental NGO that basically looks to create, protect and maintain wetland spaces. So wetland space is sometimes hard to know what it is. Even we all sometimes find it difficult, but it's where any land and water meet. So you can imagine that being anywhere. And in Sedgemoor, there's a lot of areas where you could look at that. Obviously, there's the River Parrett and all the river stuff that goes through Bridgewater too and places. But WWT actually came about primarily starting in Slimbridge, so that's in Gloucester, if you know that, which is a wetland centre, a really great centre that you can visit and you can see all the birds and where that's come from. And yeah, we came about in order to protect those. And so it's been a long legacy of trying to kind of build the momentum for wetland sites and how crucial they are for humans and other species too.
Yeah, fantastic. And so what about the Steart Marshes? Because has it recently been changed around at all? See, I sound like a conservationist talking, don't I? But you know what I'm saying.
No, good. I love it. It's great. So yeah, Steart Marshes, as probably quite a lot of people might know if they're from the local area, it's was quite fairly recent in the history of things. You can see it here. It's amazing. They basically cut in. And so what you can see in that picture there is actually from what they call the breach, which is where the ocean goes into this amazing kind of sort of treed area inside. They cut that in so that they could start filling this up as a natural salt marsh. And this was, sort of designed and created by a lot of the people that work at WWT and others too. And it's trying to bring back those natural wetlands. A lot of them were used for agricultural land for a long period of time. But as you can see, it's amazing. It looks great from the sky and is also great in person too.
Absolutely, I can agree. I was there only last weekend and I had a fabulous time. I remember one of the comments you made when you were showing us around, you talking about the role in salt marshes and carbon, talking about it's more efficient removing it from the atmosphere than even a rainforest. Is that right?
Look at this. You are a conservationist. Love it. Exactly. Again, not always such a thing that I know so much about, but I've managed to learn from all the people I work with, which is great. But they call it carbon sequestration, if I've said that right. But basically what that means is it takes in more carbon. Sucks it in, takes it out of the atmosphere, which, as we know, is hopefully a good thing. And we obviously know a lot about forests and trees, and they're great and we can grow them and they do really well, but wetlands are less known, I guess, in that and what they do for the planet. So it's great to come and learn about that.
Absolutely, it's amazing. Just a sort of a little practicality. So, talking about the location of where you are, very roughly, and the facilities, any facilities that you have on site for anybody who may want to visit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as you know, not always really easy to get to, but the Meads is great in Bridgewater too, and you can start seeing that and get involved. And that's a little bit near Hamp and the YMCA, which is a really nice place to be able to go and have a walkabout. But in terms of Steart, it is we will and do have transport, so we'll be organising those things. So that's a big barrier, hopefully, overcome. And there are toilets, which is always a plus. And I think there's even now a few bits like you can get an ice cream off our ice cream bike, and that we're doing a few more of these things as hopefully the weather comes back a bit more, and people will be out and being able to do that. But in terms of amenities, there's a lot of things there, and also the walking and everything. It's a very accessible site. There's a lot that you can do, and even if you want it to be a bit harder, say there's a bit rougher terrain, but it's always going to be possible for anyone to be able to come down.
Yeah, I can attest to that, because the paths are very, very well laid, and my little grandson was cycling on his bike with no problems whatsoever. So we had a really good time. So with regards to the hides, obviously we were outside the hides looking, but are the inside ones open yet, or is that going to be a little while before they can reopen?
Yeah, they should be opening quite soon, actually, and even will be. Where now people can be inside, so you should be able to get up and then be open. Sometimes they we close them off to do certain things, maybe talks and stuff like that, but you should well be able to get in, which is great because it just gives you an amazing view of the different spots.
I was particularly impressed with the signage as well. There's a lot of information, a lot of things to look out for, and sort of quite simply interactive, which was really, really good. I very hesitate to use the word entertaining, but it was a really positive thing about the place.
No, absolutely, and hopefully a bit entertaining, because it's nice to have a bit of fun as well when you go down, isn't it?
Absolutely. So getting on to you specifically, what is the Health and Wellbeing Project exactly?
Well, nice question. Thank you. Yeah, so obviously we've got the sites, which are really great, and the reserves are open for everyone to come, and if you can get there. But obviously get in contact if there's anything that we can try and do more of, and if there's, we like to hear when you're down there, if maybe there's a bench that needs to be put in, all these kind of things we all want to hear. But in terms of the Health and Wellbeing program, so what we are doing now and doing in the foreseeable future too, very close, is as we're coming out of lockdown, I know for myself and a lot of people it has been a difficult time, and we really want to be able to get back out and meet people again, and the outdoor spaces can and hopefully will be safe spaces for people to be able to do that. So what I'm doing is specific tailored program, which means that people can come down and you'll be able to get to engage with a structured sort of time on a certain day when you can come and you can learn about the site, do some walking around, and lots of other things to come, things like, there's even stuff like willow weaving and stuff like this that might be able to be there if people are interested. But we will have very specific groups as well, so working with you guys, the village agents, closely, and making sure that there are options for people who might have certain wants and desires, for example. So I'm always up for hearing more, and it is very much I'll move into the next bit, which is a co-production, if I'd like to use that word. I like to use that quite a lot, but this is the thing that we can do here is really make something for the local area, and I think that the best thing for that is for us all to be involved in doing that together. So if anyone is interested, I really do urge them to get in touch and have a chat, because everyone's ideas are welcomed, and a lot of people have some really great things. And one thing that we've actually been doing is this online course. So this is an online mental health course, which is a co-production, and it's exploring how nature can help us feel happy and well, and if it can, and that's going really well, and that should also be available for people to to get involved with if they wanted to learn about ways that they might be able to support themselves using these spaces.
I mean, you talk specifically about people who may have had mental health issues in the past. Are there any other groups that could access the marshes, in terms of benefiting their well-being as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you never like to say everyone. Some people might not like it, but I feel like there's a lot to be had in these spaces. Natural spaces are really great for all sorts of things. And that moves from, say you have a peer support group already together and you'd like to come along, and we can maybe help create something bespoke for you guys to meet up and do stuff again, or all the way through to talking about really great activities for carers too, which I think is a big area which is sometimes more difficult.
Yes, particularly in light of the pandemic and people who are carers, whether formally or informally, have felt quite isolated, and this is a fantastic opportunity to get out there and experience all that the site has to give. How's it funded?
So this is funded through the Green Recovery Challenge Fund. It's like earlier for you. I've got to try and find all these words now, haven't I? And get them in the right order.
It's your turn.
Yeah, exactly. Which is from the National Lottery in partnership with Natural England. And so it is a government-funded project. And it's looking not just at health and well-being, but also restoration of these, bringing back these coastal areas that are so beautiful and intrinsic to, our health and well-being, but also our biodiversity, talking about that, lots of different species and things, trying to make sure that we put our time and efforts into these places. Absolutely.
So playing devil's advocate now, I mean, why do we need it? Because obviously sort of looking at more formal routes of healthcare, I mean, why do we need this as well?
Absolutely. No, really good question. And actually something which I think is still being looked into, I guess, in lots of different spaces. But I would just say there's so much. I mean, we can go from the research side. There's so much research already coming out about how natural outdoor spaces help us to feel, calm and peace and to de-stress, but also to facilitate social interactions too, to be a space where you can meet others and you can engage in meaningful activity and purposeful activity. And if it's something that you enjoy and want to learn more about that, actually you'll be able to learn skills too. I know that that's what I've done, and this is kind of where I've gone and now into this sort of thing. So, I know that more, maybe as you said, more traditional ways of doing things can look quite different, but actually what I always pose the question as well is why not these spaces too? I mean, there's no reason that more traditional things can't be brought in, and they surely are with our program as well. But it's just reimagining that maybe you don't necessarily have to be in an indoor space or any of these things, although that works for a lot of people, that there's option also to be outdoors, getting some mild exercise sometimes as well, and trying to bring in all of those things together so that we can also look after the places that we live, which is an amazing thing to help the next generation and other people too, to have a space that helps them feel well.
Yeah, brilliant. Talked earlier about social prescribing. Could you just explain what that is to those people who may not have heard of that expression before?
Yeah, absolutely. And social prescribing is all in. It's being able to access activities or programs or services, whichever you'd like to call them, through that are non-medical. And so those are things that might be able to help you feel better, because you might have something that you feel you'd like to work with, and actually, so what these mean is that you wouldn't necessarily, you might go to your GP and be able to say, I've heard of this outdoor thing, and I'd like to give it a go, and I think it might be good for me, and they might be able to help people to find those routes to get there too.
Fantastic. Are you finding it easy to form associations with people so that you can put the word out there?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I feel a lot of people have been, you know what? Sedgemoor is a great, what I love about Somerset is that I feel like so many people are very, very interesting, great characters. And I think everyone really wants to, there's a big sense of community and they want to help each other. And I feel like actually a lot of these things are already there. You know, it's not about doing something necessarily that new. It's just about realizing that there's so much that can be more joined up. There's lots of things that can happen that we can all work together to do, and I'm sure it's not about, you know, taking stuff away from other places, but actually being able to kind of be part of a whole, which I think a lot of people are working towards. Not to say that there aren't difficulties, of course, and I'm sure we are difficult in our own ways, but you know, I have found it a really positive experience so far.
That's good news. So just sort of looking at, I know there's no such thing as an average day, but so, you know, an average day on the program, if somebody came along to a session or whatever, what might it look like?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the things I'd also like to put there as well is that bear in mind, if you're going to come to some of these sessions, I would always love it to be everything that I wanted to do, but actually it's going to be what we all want to do, and we can figure that out as well. And sometimes I don't have any ideas that can come up, so that's great. But in terms of a more sort of structure that has been used before and things like this, so you might be able to come along. I would be able to get you in our minibus, and we could all meet in a place in Bridgewater or somewhere else, and we would get to the site. We would have a check-in where we'd all chat to each other, just see how it's all going, maybe have a cup of tea, and then we can start out on doing some activities. So this might be we can go for a guided walk, or we might be able to then do a little bit of bird watching on the way, and I always like to do a little bit of exercise at the beginning. So we do a little bit of exercise. Some of these are from Tai Chi, which I know some people aren't always big with, but really basically what it is breathing nicely and moving your body a little bit, which is always good before you do some practical stuff. And then what we can do is we go out, we might do some practical work, some conservation things, maybe some looking at bird numbers and things like this, or it could even be fixing a pathway, because we always need to do some of that stuff for other people too. And then we come back and we always have a check out and a meet together and a chat and see how everyone's doing, and if there's anything we want to chat about, and then we go off on to the rest of our lives for that day, which is great. But being able to be outside for that period of time and to meet and do these things together, I find is really beneficial.
You mentioned in your literature about CoDesign. So could you explain what is it, you know, speaking to the people who are participating and shaping the way and what you're doing?
Well, like I just said, and like I put out there, I don't have all the answers, but I have some which I hope are good. And I think that actually we really need to be open as well to the fact that lots of people who come have their own ideas and their own skills and their own things that they want to bring in, and I think that's really, really great. And I think actually it's actually what makes these programs so brilliant is the fact that everyone works together. And, you know, for example, I've had it before where someone's come down and is a really avid, really, you know, they really like to paint. And actually, we've ended up all having half an hour where we've painted some scenes together in the outdoors. And actually, I think I even got involved and wouldn't have thought that I'd be doing that. So sometimes there's some things that you learn that you don't necessarily know would happen. And that's what's so kind of great about being able to do that. So that's what I mean really by co-design, is a proper collaboration where we all work together to figure out the things that we think how it should move on and how it should look.
I mean, that's a really great idea, isn't it? Because not only are you shaping sessions for individuals, but there's that feeling of ownership as well. So that people feel an even bigger part of what's happening.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's difficult to come by sometimes, isn't it? I think sometimes you feel a bit powerless in situations. And I think that actually one of these things that I think is really important to remember, and I always make known, is that these spaces, these outdoor spaces, Steart Marshes, you know, they're for us all. They're for us all to be part of. And I think that actually it's how people are there and why they're there and what they want to do when they're there that I think is the more interesting part.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, excuse me, collaborations with other organizations, have you formed partnerships of that sort yet, or early days?
Yeah. So we've been working really closely from the beginning with Mental Health Foundation, and they've got great knowledge and connections and skills in what they call self-management and peer support, especially. But they're a brilliant organisation that actually organised Mental Health Awareness Week, which I don't know if people saw was Nature this year, which is really apt. Which is great. Yeah. But we've been working with them closely, and also I would say, we're working very closely with the village agents on a personal level too, and also places like I've been talking with the Open Mental Health Alliance as well. We've been working, and I'm in quite a few different networks for nature practitioners, as they call it.
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously, if you could just sort of how you pull together participants, what channels are there to find participants?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, there's a few different ways, and I think some are easier than others, but I would say one of the things that they call is people coming to us. If you're interested and you think it would be good for you to be involved and you'd like to, then please get in contact in any way you see fit. Yeah. We've got a lot of people that will be able to take that up, and most likely you'll speak with me and we can speak closely about that too. But then we also obviously work with other people. So like Jane, like you, if you working with anyone that expresses a want to be able to do this, that maybe you'll be able to help them to come to us as well, and we can build a closer relationship on that way. So there's a few ways to get to us, and I'm sure there'll be more as things go on. But it is also really good to know that and to have the idea that if people are interested to talk to, it doesn't have to just be us, but to talk to anyone they're working with and express that actually this might be something that they're interested in, and we can talk with them or you more closely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did just briefly touch on the transport. I think, is it a 13-seater minibus that you've managed to secure funding for?
Oh, 17 actually. 17, which is
typical
great, isn't it?
Underselling it.
No. But obviously we're working always with COVID restrictions and all of those things. So we're doing everything we can, everything's safe, and we've all done those things. But we do have big nice minibus which can house a lot of people. So that's really good.
Brilliant. And going back, advertising our services as well as village agents, that we can often find magical ways to transport people to places. So, just because you might be a long way from Steart Marshes, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to get there. So just wanted to ask, you're obviously talking about an environment there which could possibly be fragile in some ways. Are you concerned at all about the knock-on effects to the environment with more people using it?
This is a very good question, and you really do sound like a conservationist today. I love this. It's really good. And, but it's stuff that I think is great for us all to think about, isn't it? And to keep there. And, I know we have conversations a lot about it and where we work and these kind of things. As you can see, such a beautiful site. I think that actually it's building a respect for that. And, what they say, it's a give. It's a not just a take, it's a give and take. There's stuff we've got to do there. And I think actually we're always mindful and very practical about what can happen. And of course, more people on these sites is great, but also comes with its own new things, just as coming out of COVID does too. So I'm sure we're all moving with tentative steps, but I'm sure we're also going to think about this in the long term. But I think one of the big things, like you said, to learn is that actually when we're in these spaces, that learning to care for them is a really big part of that, and realizing that the environment is really, really intrinsic to us as well. So, it's very important. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's just, when you go up there, I think everybody who's watching this, you need to go there to experience it, because it is fantastic. But I just wanted to ask what your long-term aims are. Do you think that it'll have a place amongst more formal health models, will it be seen just as positive as, well, here's a prescription or whatever, here's a prescription to go to Steart Marshes. Do you see it moving in that way?
Great. Another great question. Will it work long term? Another one we always talk about. And you know what? I'm always the optimist. I think a practical optimist. I think positively, but there are also things that we've always got to do to make it happen too. But I think at the end of the day, there's a real strength in people and communities feeling strongly about something. And I hope more and more we can start listening to the people who are on the ground in these local areas and what they want for their communities. And at the end of the day, I feel like we are in a real turning point here where things might happen, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. But of course, we have to go with our practical hats on too. But I'm optimistic.
Absolutely. When you say things may happen or might happen, I'm definitely positive about this. And it's just a fantastic opportunity, isn't it? We've been brought to this place by a really negative turn of events, but it's our opportunity to turn it into a positive, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Obviously, all the contact details are scrolling along the bottom and whatever. And obviously, Will Freeman is a really good point of contact. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Will?
Well, thanks for having me on and chatting about it. And as you can probably notice, I could chat for a long time about these sort of things.
More than welcome.
If anyone ever wants to, I will just say, there's many ways that things can happen and connections can happen. And so if you ever look at it and it looks a certain way and it might not be for you, so I urge you to still call up and have a chat, because even if it's not us, there might be other places that you might be able to go to too that we know of and can help that as well. So I always think it's just about us slowly and gently being able to go and do these things again, and to really enjoy it and have fun with it too. Like this, we're going to have our ups and downs, but these are the sorts of places that I think that if any of them can be really, really beneficial. So yeah, exciting stuff.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to reiterate that the website is really useful and interesting, and have a look. Don't be frightened of it. Don't be frightened of the outdoors. It might be just for you, which is fantastic.
And I was going to quickly ask Jane one question from me, if you don't mind. Just one. I was going to say, when you came the other week, what was it that you found so great about it when you were there? Or what what sort of things did you do when you were there?
Well, I came after you showed us around, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but I also brought my grandson, my partner. We had a cycle round in the pouring rain, and there was so much to look at, and it kind of opened my eyes again, trying to look through my grandson's eyes at what he would find interesting. And that was such a positive thing. It's very, very powerful place, very peaceful. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a great opportunity. Right then, so if that's it, Will, thank you very much indeed for being here today. Perhaps we can have you back another time as the project progresses. It'd be really good to see you. And to everybody else, please keep looking on the Talking Cafes. We're still doing them, not quite as frequently, but there are other interesting subjects coming up. So thanks, Will. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Well, I look forward to hearing from everyone. See you later.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.